Kia ora tātou. This podcast is about ways to enhance workplace relationships and prevent and resolve work-related problems at an early stage. Kia ora. Hi, I'm Lisa McWilliams-Smith. I'm an employment relations advisor, a mediator, and an investigator based in Aotearoa, New Zealand. For many years, I've worked with unions, businesses, and individuals where employment relationships have reached a really difficult point. There have been grievances, external investigations, performance problems, breakdown in trust, and sometimes very serious allegations. What I've noticed over time is that these situations really come out of nowhere. More often, they are a result of issues that have been building quietly for months and sometimes even years, and they haven't been properly talked about or addressed. And I think that probably relates to something about our culture here in Aotearoa. We do tend to be quite polite and reserved and sometimes conflict avoidant. I've noticed there's often a she'll be right attitude in workplaces where people hope that things will just settle down. And of course, small and medium-sized businesses are often so busy doing the mahi, stretched with resources and time, and so these issues tend to get parked. In my experience, unresolved issues really disappear. They usually grow legs and limbs and tentacles until they're a really big problem. I'm really pleased to be doing this podcast with my dear friend and colleague Judy Dell, who is one of New Zealand's most experienced employment mediators, having been the principal mediator at MB. Between us, we've spent many years sitting with people in rooms all over the country, helping people in conflict, talking them through difficult issues, helping them to understand other people's perspectives, and supporting them to find a way forward. What we have seen time and time again is that good communication and sometimes a well-timed conversation can prevent a lot of pain later on. Judy, just like to have you introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, Lisa. Kia ora tātou. For many years, I practiced as a lawyer in child protection and worked for Child, Youth and Family Service. During that time, not only giving advice around child protection, but also employment advice and helping management navigate employment issues in a very large organisation. I became interested in mediation in the 1990s, probably as a result of the Children, Young Persons and Their Families Act and the introduction of family group conferences, which brought families together to work through issues and try and find their own resolution. I became involved with LEADER and attended workshops in the 1990s for the early days of mediation practice in New Zealand. LEADER is the forerunner of Resolution Institute as we know it today, an Australasian professional association for mediators. I've been with the Employment Mediation Service since its inception in 2000. I had temporary roles to begin with, but became permanently employed there in 2005, and in the more latter years was the principal mediator until I retired in early 2025. I've felt so lucky to have spent the last part of my career immersed in mediation and dispute resolution, and particularly in the employment relationships area. So I'm very happy to be here sharing this experience with you, Lisa.
Thank you. Ngā mihi nui, Judy. It's my privilege. I just want to talk a bit about why we started this podcast. And actually, before I do that, Judy, maybe you could just expand upon what this podcast is and what it isn't. Would be great.
That's right. So we're not here to provide advice. We're here to provide insights based on our experience, and it is about our experience and our thoughts. It is not reflecting the thoughts of our previous employers in any shape or form.
Yeah. Thanks, Judy. We really wanted to share some of the perspectives that we've developed from working inside these situations and alongside the people involved. Although we are both legally qualified and has worked as lawyers, I was in-house counsel for a series of private sector trade unions for about 7 or 8 years. There are plenty of places that you can go to hear about employment law, especially at the moment with the recent changes in legislation. We do acknowledge that legislation changes causes flux and some challenges while people adapt and understand how the new law might apply in their situation. But we are firmly of the view that there are constants and that the obligation of good faith and to maintain a productive employment relationship where the parties are responsive and communicative are the overarching principles. We want to talk about the human dynamics of workplace relationships rather than the black letter law. Judy, would you like to talk about your reasons for doing this podcast with me?
Well, mainly because I love working with you, Lisa, but
cheers.
the two main threads for me are, I guess, the importance of the mediation process and why it is so effective. And just to reiterate what, Lisa, you've been saying is that, laws may change, but the fundamentals of mediation do remain constant. And those fundamentals are that mediation is confidential. And so nothing that's said in mediation can be used outside of that meeting, and it gives people a real opportunity to talk freely and openly and to try ideas out and think about ways things could get resolved that really suit both parties' needs. It is voluntary, so people can't be made to reach agreement during the process. They can often be it almost feels compulsory to attend mediation sometimes because of referrals from outside agencies, depending on the structure of the mediation panel, I guess. But you can't force people to reach agreement. It is an important part of the process that the mediator is impartial and doesn't have a vested interest in the outcome, so they can be fair, treat the parties fairly, but also ensure that the process is followed to both parties' satisfaction. And the other fundamental is the empowerment of the parties to reach their own agreement. So those things remain constant regardless of the regime around them or the law as it applies to the particular jurisdiction.
Thank you, Judy. Exactly.
The second thread, sorry,
I
okay. Just realised I said there were two threads. The second thread is my real, I guess, interest in ensuring that workplaces remain productive and constructive places to work. This benefits employees and employers. And when you think about the impact of any disruption to the relationship, the workplace relationship, you think about the employee, impact on them, their families, their well-being, the impact on the employer, their families, their well-being. Then you think about the communities that they live in, it can overflow into that wider community. And then you think about the impact on the economy as a whole. So we've seen in our experience how and helping parties to reach a resolution can sometimes actually benefit the whole economy of Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Exactly, yeah. Some of the things that Judy and I may cover are how organisations make it safe for employers and employees to raise issues. As you've touched upon, Judy, the impact of workplace conflict, steps that you might take to resolve issues in the workplace, how to deal with particular issues, for example, what effective performance management looks like, how mediation can help people move forward when relationships feel stuck. We will, in an episode, explain the mediation process itself, and we will expand upon alternative dispute resolution methods. We hope to bring in certain guest speakers, because we know that there are a lot of people who have subject matter expertise in this area and will have thoughtful perspectives in addition to our own about what works in the workplace. We aim to have a regular weekly podcast for you to listen to, and we welcome questions, which you could send to us via LinkedIn or in YouTube or the comment section about any workplace problem that you handled well and what the outcome was. And of course, any questions that you have, we'll endeavour to answer those. So thank you very much for listening to episode 1, our introductory perspective on employment relationships. Judy, would you like to introduce what we'll be looking at next time?
Well, next time we aim to be looking at ensuring workplaces can provide a safe environment for issues to be raised, both from an employee perspective and also how managers might raise issues with their employees as well. So that will be the tenor of our conversation next time.
Thank you, Judy. Right, well, thank you very much for listening to our podcast, and we'll see you next time.
We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Ka kite.
Ka kite anō.